spinning circle going. So it's yet another week of Money Moves. Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited about this. We got some good stuff to talk to you about today. But before we jump into that, Wendy, as always, great to see you. How was your week?
It was great. I just got back from the Bahamas.
Nice. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, never mind what I did. So, wow. Okay. Way to trump me on that one. So good stuff. Well, that's awesome. So I'm glad you're back and you made it safely. So we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. And I've talked to a few people, and this is something that when we talk about it, it may be like, oh yeah, my grandparents did something like that.
Yeah.
And that is precious metals, right? And we get the question: should I be buying any silver or gold or platinum? Platinum's in there too. So we're going to talk a little about today. But before we get started, we're going to give you a quick second to reach out to your friends and say, hey, jump on blackswanmoney.com. They are getting ready to get started. And we're going to talk about, should I buy precious metals here in a few seconds. So gold and silver, every time I talk about it, I think of that show from Christmas. What is it? Rudolph with a little animation when Burl Ives sang the song Silver and Gold. Do you remember that?
Silver and gold.
Yes,
right?
That's it.
Every time you say it too, I sing that in my head, but I didn't know what it was from.
Yeah, Burl Ives. And I forget when that show came out. It was like the late 60s or early 70s or something like that. But I used to love that when I was a kid. And little did I know that he was kind of slipping us some info, like the QAnon of the 70s, right? Buy silver and gold. And oddly enough, you think about that, and there may be some truth to that because, 70, I think it was 71 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. That was about the time that came out. So who knows? Who knows back then? So, but yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Buying silver and gold. So we're going to talk about, what it is, what it isn't, and why should you, how much should you, and where should I go and get it? So talk to me, Winnie. I mean, I know that was kind of a new thing with you when you and I first met, but
yeah, I had never really honestly, I had never really known anyone did that. I was like, I knew my parents occasionally bought silver, but I thought it was kind of like, this is obviously before I was the conspiracy theorist I am now, but I was just kind of like, what, in case the end of the world, I thought it was silly. But no, now I've learned a lot more. And, I think since 2020, a lot more of us are like, awake to what's happening in the world. But, I didn't understand it for a long time. Even after we started talking about it, I didn't understand inflation and I didn't understand the value of a dollar and economics in general. You actually recommended a great book. What is it? Penny Candy?
Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, it's Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. But a lot of people are like that, right? You think that inflation, for example, the vast majority of people out there think inflation is, the cost of making this stuff went up. Yeah. And that's why it costs more. The cost of chicken feed went up. So that's why eggs cost more. No, it's not. That is not what impacts inflation. Inflation is impacted by, hey, you and I both have $1, and then they just went and printed $5 more, so that makes our dollars less valuable.
Right. So I think, was it in that book they talked about like the Kool-Aid or the high C or whatever? And you pour more water in it and dilute it. And that's what happens. They pour more cash into society, and then the dollar becomes diluted. Yep. I think it's the easiest way to think of it.
That is another way that we're taxed by the U.S. government. That's how they take some of our money away. But no, they didn't take any of my money away. I still got $1,000 sitting in my savings account, but it doesn't buy as much. So inflation got as high as 9.1% last year. Okay. And they're talking about hyperinflation in 2023. And that's when it goes off the rails, double digits, things like that. But, and we've had double digit inflation in the United States back in the 80s. And so, that's something that you want to be aware of. It's happened before, and it looks like it's coming to happen again. And that's how you protect against. So that's exactly what, buying precious metals. That's why our grandparents did it. Your parents did it. because of what they went through during the Great Depression, right? And back before 71, money had real intrinsic value, meaning it had physical value. It was backed by silver and gold, right? And so there was like, okay, I know I can change this for something that's been valuable, quote unquote, for eons, because people have been using gold and silver as money since the dawn of time, civilization, right?
Right.
And so what that does, though, you don't invest in silver and gold. Okay. And I know some people out there are going to, oh, no, actually you do. That's fine. That's your opinion. My opinion is silver and gold is used to store buying power of your dollar, because it's not the value or the value of gold and silver going up. It's the value of the dollar going down, which causes that other stuff to rise.
Right.
So,
pour in the water and dilute the value of silver and gold, right?
No, I've got an ounce.
The precious metals hold that same buying power.
You look at that. Yeah. You look at that back in the day, like, for example, pre-1964 quarters, for example, you look at 4 of those, $1. Okay. So 4 quarters today, that's probably worth, 28, $30.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at that and it's like, okay. And this goes back to people are talking about, oh, the minimum wage needs to be increased to $15 across the country. And, now a lot of places it is, because everybody just refused to work during COVID and things like that. But you go back to what the minimum wage was back in the early 60s. Guess what? It was about the same as those 4 quarters, right? So it's not the money has gotten less valuable as far as the silver and gold. It's that the paper dollar has been devalued so much. So,
and what year was it that you may have said this, but what year was it that they no longer backed?
71. It was Nixon. 71. Yeah, I believe, and don't quote me on that. I know it was the early 70s. I believe it was 71. It maybe 70. I don't think it was 72. So 70, 71, but I think it was 71. And that's when Nixon took us off the dollar standard, or the silver standard. Yeah. And then money just became backed by the U.S. debt. And, they did that in part to be able to expand the economy and pay for Vietnam War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just print more money. I mean, think how easy it would be to pay your bills, Wendy, if you had a printing press in your back bedroom, right? I mean, yeah, how much do I owe you? I'll be right back. That ink's not quite dry yet. So, of course, but.
Right. And if everyone could print the money, then it would be worth nothing, because
nobody would accept it. But oddly enough, the U.S. government has sold us for decades. Well, and this leads to, what's going on with the dollar today. There's a lot of people that are concerned about it. You've got the BRICS Bank and everything, looking to replace the dollar globally. Mm-hmm. So that's going to have a huge impact to us. And, the central bank digital currency, the CBDC, is right around the corner. So going back to the silver, though, why do I want to have it? Well, I want to protect some of that dollar value that I have as we go through this transition, right? Because it's going to be a transition. It's not going to be the end of the world. We're Mad Max and, I'm cruising around in a busted up Mustang with my dog and a shotgun by my side. That's not going to happen. But, we are going to go through some changes. So how do you protect your wealth? Number one, obviously stack as much as you can. Wealth, not just silver and gold, but wealth. Why? Because and you said it best, we're not becoming the Republican versus Democrat. That's going away, folks. Mm-hmm. It's now I'm either a freedom lover or I'm a socialist. Right. And, I'm not taking credit for that. Wendy just said that right before we got on. I'm like, man, that is gold. And that is really what we're becoming. So, those freedom lovers are trying to find ways to protect their assets and things like that. And, number one is have wealth, because it's going to be the haves and have nots. Right. And then number two is, store some of your wealth. I like 5 to 10%. You don't have to do a crazy amount, but 5 to 10% of your liquid wealth should be in precious metals, silver, gold, or platinum. Platinum's actually cheaper than gold, which kind of blew me away when I first learned that a while back, because I'm like, okay, well, I get a gold album, right? And then the next highest is platinum album, but it should actually be the other way around.
So question.
Yes.
Let's say I'm buying silver, gold, platinum. Mm-hmm. Do I buy it and have it stored for me? Because I know they do that. Do I buy it and put it in my mattress? What do I do with it?
Well, I'm a seeing is believing kind of guy, right? So I like to have it in my hands, right? Yeah. If I buy something and I store it at a center in Delaware, for example. There's a lot of companies out in Delaware or Chicago. Number one, I've never actually seen it.
Right.
So did I actually buy anything, or they just tell me, yeah, you've got 10 ounces of silver sitting
like
here.
The bank that says you have money in here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay. So no, I'm not a fan of that at all. I want that in my hand. So you can do it a couple different ways. Where do you go to buy it? Number one, you can either buy it at a pawn shop. A lot of pawn shops sell gold and silver. And that's what I used to do. But prices have gotten crazy lately. I used to, for example, there was a place about an hour from my house I used to go in, and great guy. He's recently passed away the last year. But I used to go in and I would buy loose silver dollars. The old Morgans, the peace dollars, stuff like that from, back in the 30s, 20s, and, even the 40s and 50s. But used to buy the silver dollars. They were $17 a piece, $17. Okay, so you paid $17 for a dollar's piece of silver?
Yeah.
Again, it's the money used to be worth something. So that dollar back then is worth 17 paper US dollars. Well, not today, but 2019.
Yeah.
2019, 2020, right before COVID. So flash forward, I called them literally this past week. And I said, hey, I used to buy from Jon. His name was Jon as well. I used to purchase from Jon, before he passed. And I wanted to call. I haven't had a chance to get in there in a while, but do you guys still have the loose Morgans and peace dollars? And they're like, oh yeah. How much are they? $32. Almost double. Wow. And I kind of chuckled just like that. And I told him, I said, man, I wish I'd have bought them all. I was like, yeah, you should have. And he goes, well, we still got plenty left. Do you want to come buy some more? But, so I look at that and it's like, okay, well, is that really? And so silver coins like that, US dollars, they're only 90% silver. Okay. So you're not getting a full ounce. You've got to be aware of that. That's not 100% silver. So I went online to multiple online stores that you can buy from. And I went and I bought 1 ounce silver rounds. Okay. And what is that? It's a round coin, 1 ounce of silver. Okay. Now I'm not posing myself as a silver expert. So, go get some advice. This isn't investing advice there. My lawyers love me now. But what I did, I went and bought some South African Krugerrands, and they are 1 ounce silver coins, freshly minted. They haven't been in circulation or anything, but they're, they even say on their stamped 1 ounce fine silver. And you can buy from those online dealers, but you want to make sure you're buying from a reputable dealer. Okay. Now I buy from a company called SD Bullion. I'll put a link down below. And we've got an affiliate program through them. Show some love. It helps the channel out, right? It doesn't impact what you pay at all, but I found them to be the fastest, the cheapest. And, they usually have free shipping if you buy a certain amount and stuff like that too, which, silver weighs, some ounces. So that free shipping is nice. But, again, it's, I want to put some money in there, 5 to 10% of my value. So I have that physical asset on hand. I can walk up to anybody and say, hey, I've got 1 ounce of silver. Can we trade for some food or whatever the case may be? Right. So that's going to help you store value, and you can sell it down the road, right? On the other side of CDC or whatever. So some of your value store, like I said, 3 years ago, I was paying $17 or selling for $17. Today in that same store, I'd be paying or selling for $31 or $32.
Yeah.
You do the math. And, has it really changed that much between now and then? Well, inflation has quietly eroding the dollar. So I'm sorry, I went on for a while there.
No, that's okay. It's good information. And yeah, I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, and this guy, his dad was big into buying precious metals. And he said, every single paycheck, your entire life, go buy a piece of silver. And so the guy, every other week when he got paid, first thing he did, buy a piece of silver. And I'm like, man, probably like, I can't even imagine just the security this guy feels like. He's preserving wealth, and he's been preserving wealth bit by bit his whole life. And, this is something we should be teaching our kids.
Well, it is. And that's what that book, Whatever Happened to Penny Candy talks about. But, again, I'm not one of those doomsayers into the world. Oh, you should stop putting money into the market and stuff like that and just put it all in silver. No, you're not going to do that. Right. Again, you want to hedge your bets. And precious metals is a great way to hedge your bets. And you can buy full ounces of gold and platinum and silver, or you can buy partials. You can buy 1/10 of an ounce coin and things like that. So these are smaller coins and stuff like that. So there's really something for every budget. And mix it up a little bit, right? Don't get your silver and platinum confused because they kind of look alike. Store them separately, but you want to have them stored, and you want to have them, either. I don't like even having them in a safety deposit box for the simple fact that, it's if the bank is shut down and if something happens government wise, there would be a bank shutdown. Right. You can't physically get into the building to get your stuff out.
Right.
So, you can, if you're going to have it in your house, definitely have it in a safe, fireproof safe, and a safe. So it just can't walk off, because you'd be amazed at what happens. But, I know people that I hang out with some strange birds too. So I know some of them that have them, buried in the ground, literally like a pirate. And I'm like, okay, well, what if something happens? You should probably tell me where it's buried in case something happens to you. And they're like, I'm not telling you. Just kidding. But I mean, you run a concern of that. And I know people that literally, when they travel, I've got a good friend of mine, he and his fiance, when they travel, they have, a kind of a get home little emergency kit. They have cash with them that they carry, not to spend on the trip, but just in case they need it to get home. And they also carry some precious metal coins, again, in case they need to, trade. If they're traveling overseas and they need to get a boat from Mexico to Texas or whatever, you can, dollars may not work, but everybody knows what gold and silver is. Exactly. So, that's, hey, we'll definitely take you. So again, it's just something to kind of keep in mind. And again, not that it's the world's going to turn to Mad Max, but you want to hedge and protect your family against the things that could happen out there. And again, I think everybody should have precious metals. I like silver because, like you said, it's cheaper and everybody can do it. And, let's be honest, what's $30 a paycheck? I mean, You're going to blow that on beer or whatever anyway, just set it back and pick up a coin. So,
yep. Shoot, these days you blow that at McDonald's.
I know, right? It's crazy. It is crazy. I went in, I used to love that. Like I said, and I've said this before, I love the little cheeseburgers. So I was in a hurry, don't judge. And I know the McDonald's fries are horrible. I've been watching some videos on that too. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get a small fry and 2 of the burgers, a little meal deal. It was like $9. I'm like, what? It's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, but go out, put some silver, stack some silver and gold. Do not buy it on eBay. Do not buy it from somebody you don't know. Be careful of Facebook Marketplace, because there's a lot of fraud out there. And you can make stuff that looks just like silver, and it's not really silver. So, buy from reputable dealers, or, somebody you've got an established relationship with. A lot of storefronts and stuff, they're going to be, legit, but, don't be afraid to ask the questions and do your homework. But hopefully that helped everybody. Stack some silver, stack some gold, grab some platinum, and, again, set it back to just in case of that rainy day happens. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Click that little subscribe button and show us some love. And like I said, check out the links below, and I'll even put a link in there for a little safe that you can use at home. But just slide it under your bed. Do not put it in a shoe box. Do not put your cash in a shoe box either. So have a great week.